Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Well, today's going to be a little bit different. We are not actually flying anywhere. Plenty of time for that very soon. I'm going to be doing a lot of flights all over the place with our Jet and Airways 737 service. But today is all about showing you my startup and checklist procedure. Now this is one for Jet and Airways. I've decided, I've written it all down. It will change and improve and will adjust as we go. But this is the one I'm going to start using every time I do a flight in my 737-700 and in the Xbox 800. It will work with both because they are both study level airplanes. Now my checklist and procedure has been gleaned from several real-life pilots, startups and checklists in different 737s, but although it's not a full-on 100% real 737 startup procedure as if you were doing a real plane, it does have quite a bit of authenticity and realism, and I believe it's a good mix between 100% real and just casual, for the casual fun flyer and a flight simulator who's flying a study level 737. So it's sort of a mixture. It does have a good amount of content that is actually authentic and with enough realism to actually do a proper study level 737 startup and checklist, if that made sense. Okay, so we're going to go right from the very start. And we're not going to program the FMC today. This is just about my startup checklist and getting the plane ready to fly. Like I said, it'll work on any 737 pretty much because it is a study level, as long as it's a study level plane, because this checklist does have a lot of authenticity and realism in it. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning as if we were flying a real plane. Okay. We always check the floor and check the hatch. Make sure the hatch is closed where the wind-up where the wind-up landing gear is. Make sure that's closed as you come in through the back. I would do that. I would also check all the fuses here. Make sure there are none protruding out. If they are protruding out, that means the fuses have blown. So I would check that fuse board there and also check this fuse board behind the pilot seat. And if you're standing back there as you come in through the back door, you're in a better position to check both of those. So I've made sure there's no clutter, anything on the floor or bags or anything. We'll check these hatches are closed up here. The one that holds the compartment for the spare bulbs and fuses, and also the one that holds the escape emergency rope. You'll notice there's not one on both sides of the plane, there's only one. But believe me, this rope is long enough. It will reach right across the cockpit down to the ground under normal circumstances. So it is plenty long enough. So that's those all out of the way. Now we need to check that the plane is actually ready for a cold and dark startup. Start with our moving surfaces. Our throttles are on idle, flaps are up, speed breakers up, brakes are on, and we come up to the top here and we're going to work from left to right and we'll work down each panel. So we're starting at the top. Here we go. These are all up. Fuel switches are up and off, lights are off. Coming down here, everything is off, ground power is off. Generator bus switches are all off, light switches are off. Coming up to the next one, coming down, they're all off. Windscreen wiper switches are all off. Window heats are all off. Heat probes are all off. Coming down here, generators, hydraulic pumps are all off. Coming down to the bottom, engine start switches are off. Coming up to the top and down, we're going to leave the isolation valve open for startup. Engine bleeds, APU bleeds are all off. Lights are all off. Now the reason we've got to check the whole situation before we add any power to the plane at all, even in the way of battery power, DC power, is if there are any work people or maintenance people working on the plane outside. When you turn on a battery, power goes to a heck of a lot of different systems, and some of those systems actually start moving if the switches are in the right place. And when moving surfaces and things start moving on the plane, or if there are people working on the plane, people can get hurt. So you always check. Now, you may be in the plane, there'll never be anyone working on the plane, but you don't know. It's just good to get into good habits right from the very start, and you'd go through the same checklist and the same procedure every time you fly the 737. That way you know you're doing the right thing. Okay, so we've done all the checks and we know we are ready for DC power. So we're going to come up here and we're going to turn on the battery. We're also going to get the alignment started for the IRS. We'll turn those around to navigation. Now, to give that a bit of a hand, we will come down to the FMC here. We're not going to program the FMC today. We're just going to get the plane started up, basically. So I'll come down to position in it. We can see we need some coordinates there. So we'll put our reference airport in here, which is KSAN. We can put that in there. There's our coordinates there, and we'll drop that into there. Now we can go to route and we can start doing all the other things we need to do. However, we're not going to do the FMS today. We're just looking at the startup. Now you can see already our battery is straining, so we need to go to FS Actions, Ground Services, and we need to request ground power. So we'll get that connected. Now, because we're going to be on the ground for a little while and it is rather hot, we're going to get our air conditioning unit as well. And we've already got our chocks set in place. Okay, our ground unit is connected for our ground power. So we'll come up here and switch our ground power on, and we will now start getting our ground power. So we have a lot more time to do our things and do all the stuff we need to do without flattening our battery and everything like that. So we've got our ground power connected here. There we go. Now you can also see we have got, get in the right position, we've got a big air hose coming into the plane as well, and that is pumping air into the plane for our air conditioning, because we haven't got our packs on at the moment. So that is providing us with a nice comfortable atmosphere inside the plane with our air conditioning. Try to get the camera in a good position so we can see our engines kind of starting up. You can hear the trucks idling away there and the machines running. It's pretty cool. Okay, so we are on ground power. So now it's time to do all our tests. We can start doing our tests. We're going to start from the top and work our way down to the bottom. So we'll come up here first and we'll test our flight recorder. That's on, lights there. We're going to test our airspeed, overspeed. Okay, and we're going to test our stall warning. They don't go yet. I think they will go later. So we can come on down. And we're going to test our lights. We'll do our lights test. There, we can test that. And this one here, we will test all our lights. All our lights are on. Yep. And bring them off again. Now, we're going to come down here and we're going to do our fire test. Yep, master warning light on. Now, these ones here, we're going to test our bottles, our extinguisher bottles. There are two systems that feed off these extinguisher bottles, or this extinguisher bottle feeds two systems, the engines, and it also feeds the APU, okay, these extinguisher bottles. So we need to check those extinguisher bottles are all armed and able to be used. So we got the lights on. That is all good there. We can also do a throttle test. We bring our throttle up, hear the clicking, and then we bring it back. Right, it's time to do our walk around outside. So for the walk around outside, we're going to turn on our generators. Okay, and then we can do our walk around outside. Now we turn the generators on because it adds a little bit of pressure to the hydraulic pumps and hoses, and we can actually see if there's anything leaking. Now we check the APU exhaust out the back. It's all clear. It's all free of any blockages or bird's nest and such like. And we'll also check the leading edges on the wings here. We'll look for any scratches or marks or damage, anything's been hit. We'll check the back of the engine for marks or scratches or anything that's happened there. Also in the engine, we'll have a bit of a look around there. That's all looking good. Now also we'll have a look inside the front wheel well. And we'll have a bit of a look around and make sure there's nothing out of the ordinary happening in the front wheel well. No oil leaks or anything that shouldn't be there. Okay, and then we check the other engine as well. Everything's looking good there. And we have a look at the back of the engine. Everything looks good there. The gear. Yep, everything looks good. No oil leaks or anything there. Check the other wheel. Nothing leaking. No oil. Everything looks good there. Okay, so we're looking good. We can get back, go back into the plane. So that's our checks and tests complete there. And now we can turn the generators off. Okay, now it's time to start the APU. Now that we've done our fire tests. Now remember, to be authentic and real, you need to do all your fire tests before you start your APU. Okay, for your fire tests to actually be effective and work, you need to do your tests before you start your APU. Okay, so we've done our fire tests. Now we can start our APU. So we're going to put our fuel pump on, and we're going to bring our APU starter switch down, and we'll wait for this gauge to come up that monitors the exhaust pressure in the APU. So that will come up soon. When that comes up, there it is, it's coming up now. Now we're going to wait for this light to come on. When this light comes on, that means we can actually use the APU power. So I'm going to turn on the Apu Bleed. Now we do not turn on our packs or anything in the way of hydraulic generators or heat probes or anything yet. We can turn on our strobe light though, put it on to steady. Okay, so that light is on now. So that means APU power is available to us. So we're going to switch over from ground power to APU power. So we'll turn on the APU bus. And we can now turn off the ground power. Now you can switch your ground power off here, but nothing will happen. You actually have to go down to the FMC, go to menu, FS Actions, Ground Services, and you have to turn off the ground power from here, or let them know that they are not needed. And also the air conditioning unit as well can be disconnected. Once we've done that, we can come up here and we can switch off the ground power up here. Now at this stage we can start to program our FMC and put our flight plan in. For this video, however, we are not going to do that right now. But we're not going to do it in this video, we will do it at another time. So after we program the FMC, then I would start to request clearance for departure and clearance for taxi. Now once we've done that, we would do our pre-start checklist, okay, before we start pushback. So to do our pre-start checklist, we come up here and again we work from left to right and we come on down. Pre-start the engine checklist, left to right, we come down here, we turn on our fuel, we come up down here, nothing is right there. We're actually going to get pushback, so we can turn on our taxi lights. Come up down here, everything's normal. Come down here again, and then we come down the last panel. We've only got our engine bleed on. For startup, we need our isolation valve open, and that is open. So we can check that that is all good for startup. Throttle's on idle, flaps are up, speed brake up. Brake is on. We can take the brake off because we're now going to get pushback. And so while we're getting pushback, we can look at getting ready to start our engines. Now we're not allowed to start our engines. We also have to release the blocks too. Ground services, release the chocks, okay, and then the guy will take the ladder truck away. Now when we're getting pushback, we can start getting ready to start our engines, but remember you cannot start your engines until you are past the lines that are behind us. See these lines behind us? You cannot start your engines until your engines are beyond those lines. So get ready to start our engines. Our fuel is on, isolation valve is open. And we just wait now until we're back past that line so we can start our engines. Okay, our engines are about there, past the line. So we'll turn our right engine to ground. And we'll start to watch those numbers come up there. Okay, we'll stop the pushback there and we'll put on our brake. Thank you mate. And when this is up to 24, which it is now, I will add fuel to the engine. And that engine will spool up nicely. There it is. Now that engine will click back to the off position, that engine switch, very, very soon. There we go. So we're going to turn on the left engine to ground. And we're going to watch these numbers come up to around 24, 25. Right, we'll add fuel to that engine. And we'll wait for this switch to come around to the off position. Okay, so it is in the off position. So we're going to turn our engine bleeds on. And we're going to turn our engine switches round to continuous. And now we're going to switch from APU power to engine power. So we're switching from DC power over to AC power now. So we'll switch on our engine bus, left and right. And we'll switch off our APU bus. We can turn off our APU and turn off our APU bleed. And we have both engines running beautifully. Beautiful sunrise here today at San Diego. Look at that. That is stunning. Okay, so now we're running on engine power. We've turned off our APU bleed. We've got our engine bleeds on. We can come up here and we can turn on our packs. Get our air conditioning going. Can turn on our generators, hydraulic generators. And we're going to turn on our window anti-ice and our heat probes. And we're going to turn on our yaw damper. Check lights, yes. And now we will get our master control panel ready for departure. We're going to cruise out at 250 knots. So I'll put that at 250. Altitude, we're going to go to 10,000 feet initially. Now, like I said, we have programmed our FMC already, but we need to put into our our radio, our ILS frequency. So we do that now, put it into there, switch it over to the active, put it on the right hand side, switch it over to the active. Now we also need to do is with this transponder, the transponder is down here. We need to turn that over to the right hand side. We turn it over to the right, fully over to the right. Now when you put the transponder fully over to the right, on the right hand side there fully, your plane now becomes visible on the radar in the control tower. So the control tower can now see you as a little light or a blip on their computer screen, and they can follow you and they know exactly where you are. Okay, so now we're going to do our pre-taxi checklist. So we will come up to the top here again. We're also going to turn on our emergency lighting. I didn't do that. Okay, top to bottom, fuel pumps on, top, coming down, engine bus on, APU buses off, taxi lights on. Coming down here, we can now put the fasten seatbelt sign on. Engines are on continuous. Coming up here, window heat on, window probes on, generator hydraulic pumps on. Over to the right, we've got isolation valve open, packs are on, engine bleeds are on. We've got our speed in the auto there. Coming down here, we can put our anti-collision lights on. So we are ready to taxi. We've already got clearance for departure, and we've got clearance for taxi. Our blocks are all removed, and we can now bring our engines up, remove our brakes, and we can taxi to the active runway. Right, well that's it guys. Short video today. Well, I don't know if it's very short, but that is my startup checklist, startup procedure for my Boeing 737-800 and my 737-700. It is a study level kind of startup and procedure, and it should work on any Boeing study level aeroplane, and it's quite easy and straightforward. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed that video. If there's anything you'd like to add to my startup procedure or checklist, something that I've missed, I don't think I've missed anything, But if there is something I missed or you think it should go on because it's very, very important, let me know in the comments below, please, and I will adjust it. I will put it in, and we'll make some improvements to it. It's something that will grow and develop, I think, and we'll get better and better at it. It will evolve, so that will be good. FMC, that is another video altogether. There's heaps of videos out there on how to program the FMC. So you can do your own sort of research and checking up on that if you like. I will do one on the basic simple FMC, how I do it. But that's it for the startup and checklist procedure. Okay, I'll see you soon on the next video. We're going to start flying some local regional routes with the 737-700 and of course Jet and Airways 800. So that's what we'll be doing on the next video. We'll be flying some regional routes for a while. Okay, cheers guys, thanks for watching and keep safe. Look forward to your comments below. Cheers.